We saw you launch that ball at the end of the game into the stands. You told us this week, I want two things. I want the first one to be done, and I want a W. You got both. How good do you feel right now?
Come here in the first time in the new jersey, all those a lot of emotions today. I told you I just wanted to win for this city, and that's all I wanted. We got the win. Doesn't matter how we do it. Let's just keep stacking.
The New Orleans Saints almost ended the Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill's career in just one game. And the referees tried to take this game away from the Saints. But after a rough start, Derek Carr and the offense were able to get it together. And it looks like New Orleans is off to a good start for the 2023 season. We're gonna break this down, the good, the bad, the ugly. Remember to subscribe to this channel for more NFL content. And this was an ugly game for the offense on both sides of the football, especially in the second half. A very low scoring game for the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints. And it started off looking ugly, especially with Derek Carr. And this is when, it was 9-6, only field goals for both teams for much of the first half. And Derek Carr and the Saints offense, they were driving down the field. And then there was this interception. It was so disappointing. 36 seconds left. Derek Carr launches it, excited to hit Juwan Johnson right here. And then boom, does not see Hooker. An interception to close the half. And things were looking ugly. And we were asking ourselves, is this team going to be okay? Are they going to be able to persevere? Is this offense, is everything just too new? And are they going to be able to click? And fortunately for the Saints, everything started working out just fine. Later on in the game, still low scoring, 9-9 late in the third quarter. Derek Carr hooks up with his wide receiver, Rashid Shaheed, at the top of the screen right here for his first touchdown as a New Orleans Saint. And oh my goodness, it was a beauty, and it felt so good for them to finally check that box, for them to finally have some chemistry as an offense. They were able to move down the field, but the red zone struggles continued. And honestly, it was because both defenses on both sides of the football were doing an amazing job. And honestly, the Saints need Alvin Kamara back because they were not able to run the football with Jamal Williams. Makes me really worried about this offensive line, especially Trevor Penning in particular. This guy was giving up tons of pressure. The announcers are noticing it. Not only was Trevor Penning giving up some sacks here and there, but he also gave up some, tackles for a loss in the backfield when Jamal Williams was trying to run the football. But the defense stepped up, and it's pretty easy to ball out when you got a dope defense like this. I don't think Derek Carr is familiar with having a defense like this that was able to bail him out straight up. Whenever he has a rough game like this, usually there's no coming back when he was with the Raiders and their bad defenses over the past few years. But this time with the Saints, you got people like Carl Granderson getting some amazing pressure, starting the opposite of Cam Jordan. This guy was having a monster game. You see him racking up that great pressure, causing some havoc for Ryan Tannehill. And Ryan Tannehill was having a rough game, even slamming iPads, upset, throwing multiple picks. He just could not handle New Orleans over there. And maybe he just did not expect this defense to be that fire. And the Saints defense was absolutely insane. Mainly Marshawn Lattimore had a monster game. DeAndre Hopkins was able to get a reception here and there, but usually when he was going against Paulson Adebo and other defenders, but against Marshawn Lattimore, he had nothing. Lattimore had almost multiple interceptions, 3 interceptions all around for the New Orleans Saints, 3 sacks and 0 touchdowns allowed. Wow, you're going to win a lot of games with a defense like that. And there were question marks for the Saints defense. Are they going to be the same even though they moved on from some defensive linemen, people like Marcus Davenport, people like Onyemata? But the Saints defense was able to get tons of pressure. At one point, Ryan Tannehill was pressured on over 60% of his dropbacks. And like we said before, the Saints offense was able to move down the field, but overall they had a rough first half. Derek Carr, I think he needs to buy this defense a lunch or something after this one. But the offense was able to come together eventually. Chris Olave had an amazing game, 8 catches, 112 yards for the New Orleans Saints. This guy was doing well on those slant routes, able to make some plays after the catch. Carr was finding Michael Thomas heavily in the first drive, then ended up going to Olave later on, and then Rashid Shaheed got the touchdown and got the game-winning pass, which sealed this victory. And I thought that was so impressive for the Saints. Even though it was a little shaky with Carr and the offense getting together and getting going in the first half of the game, run game game was not going. A lot of pressure. Carr not in communication with his receivers. Off target, rough throw leading to the interception when he was targeting Juwan Johnson. But the Saints still continued to believe in Derek Carr. And when it mattered the most, when it seemed like, hey, this team needs to get a first down to win this game, what are we going to do? No, they didn't run the football. No, they freaking chucked it deep to Rashid Shaheed. And this guy made an amazing play, almost a 40-yard catch to seal the deal and get the victory against the Tennessee Titans. And it's so sketchy and so trippy that the refs even tried to call this play back. The refs, man, had so many rough calls against the Saints. At one point, Rashid Shaheed, he got a touchdown, and Carr and Rashid Shaheed believe that they did get a touchdown in the end zone when Carr made an unscripted throw, but the refs called it back. And at the end of the game, there were some more suspect flags, and when the Saints did seal the deal, they even reviewed this play that sealed the deal by Rashid Shaheed. It was obvious that Rashid Shaheed's feet were in bounds, but they wanted to review it to make sure, and it just seemed like they were trying to find any reason to not let the Saints win this game. But hey, they couldn't argue with the facts, and the Saints were able to seal the deal. And you see Derek Carr stoked online, 1-0, who dat, showing him going out of the tunnel. Great to see them get the victory in the home opener, and now they're off to face the Carolina Panthers on Monday Night Football. That's going to be an interesting matchup. And you also have Darren Carr showing the gift there of Derek Carr celebrating, doing the fist pump after that long play. And I think that's what was so great. Not only the fact that they put the game in Carr's hands at the end, but even though the offense struggled at the beginning of the game, they were able to get on track for the second half of the game and really showed some positive things that they could look forward to in the future. It wasn't like, all right, we got a rough game all around and there's no way we're coming back for this. Maybe we're going to have a rough offense all year. It wasn't like that. It was basically like, hey, we struggled getting together in the beginning of the game. Then we figured it out in the second half of the game. And now we have a lot to look forward to. Now we prove that we can make big plays. We can move down the football field. We just got to finish it in the red zone. Can't have any mistakes. Can't have any turnovers. And quite frankly, there was a couple times when they aired it out and it just didn't work out. Chris Olave had a really big, deep reception that was right on the money, but they freaking PI'd the guy and they didn't call the flag. He was asking for the flag. It was complete BS. And it just seems like in future games, if the refs played a little more fair, if they execute a little more finely, this offense is going to be completely fine. I think the main issue overall right now is the pass blocking and the run blocking. They really need to figure out how to get Jamal Williams going. They need to open up some more lanes for this guy. And Derek Carr, when he is doing play action, he can't just be getting pressured and sacked immediately. He needs time after faking the handoff. And keep in mind, this was the first time that the Saints defense played Derrick Henry. And in the beginning of the game, especially in the second quarter, it was a little rough for them. But in the second half of the game, they completely shut Derrick Henry down. Derrick Henry was held to only 12 total yards in the second half of this game. And I just think, man, to give yourself some confidence for the rest of the season, seeing how this defense played, even though the secondary has been together for a while, the front seven has been there together for a while, besides the interior defensive line, there are still some question marks going into this season. Oh, did Cam Jordan regress? Oh, is the Saints defense still going to be what they were? And they just proved like, man, this is a top 10, this is a top 5 freaking defense in the NFL. And the Titans are one of the toughest opponents that the Saints are going to play for quite some time. And if you can shut Derrick Henry down in the run game, who else can you not shut down? It doesn't get much better than that. You got to tip your hat to the Saints defense. They definitely won this game for this team. But like we mentioned earlier, Derek Carr is a team captain. They still believe in this guy. And what I like the most is they aired it out with him. A lot of deep shots to Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, like we mentioned earlier. I think that's what they need to keep doing, man. They need to keep airing it out. The Titans defense played a little deep for a little while, and they're letting the Saints take what's in front of them and just tackle them really quickly. I think they need to continue stretching the field, man. Make these defenses more confused. Quite frankly, when you have a quarterback with a cannon of an arm like that, you got to take advantage of it. But it did show the Saints have big play ability. Even if they're not 100% all the time in the red zone, they can strike you, catch you slipping anytime with a deep long bomb. Yo, man, Derek Carr was looking like the mad bomber Daryl LaMonica at some points today. Ryan Tannehill had a rough day, man. The guy threw 3 interceptions, 3 sacks, 28 passer rating. That is absolutely horrible. Derek Carr had a 96 passer rating, actually got sacked more than Tannehill. 1 more sack, 4 sacks for him, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Like we said, Tannehill had 3 picks, 9.2 yards per attempt, over 300 yards for Derek Carr. Absolutely amazing right there. 23 of 33. Tannehill, I remember at one point after the first half, had only completed like 5 passes. It was looking rough for that guy. Derrick Henry overall still had a decent game against this Saints defense, but like we said before, they're able to hold him in the second half. One thing that I want to point out is Taysom Hill, man. I don't know exactly, how this is going to work out. There was one time when Taysom Hill had a decent gain against the Titans defense, but overall, you could see right here, 3 carries for 4 yards. You saw Derek Carr go off the field and then bring him Taysom a couple times, and you thought it was going to turn into something special, but oftentimes it would be a 3-yard gain. At one point, it was a 4-yard loss. The longest run that Taysom Hill had was only 4 yards. So I know this is a thing that the Saints like to do. I know they've already paid Taysom Hill and they got a lot in his contract because they've restructured it over the past few years. But overall, in my opinion, it just did not seem that productive. I don't think taking Derek Carr off the field is going to help this offense at any point in time. It'd be one thing if Taysom Hill was, breaking some big runs, and maybe he'll have more success against other defenses because let's keep in mind, this Titans defense is good. And last year, they were about number 1 against the run. Worse against the pass, but number 1 against the run. So I think the Saints are going to have to juggle that and figure out like how much do we want to use Taysom Hill, and maybe they should try to use him a little more in the red zone. Maybe that would work out. But like we saw earlier, 18 carries for 45 yards, 2.5 yards a carry for Jamal Williams. So, it's not good either way in terms of running the football, whether it's Taysom Hill or Jamal Williams. Rashid Shaheed had an amazing reverse run that almost sealed the deal for the game, but then the refs called it back on a BS holding call. And hey, that's going to happen sometimes, but I think Rashid Shaheed with the reverse game definitely was working out for the Saints. Overall, in terms of the Titans, man, they were just targeting D-Hop all day, 13 targets, only got 65 yards because when you got corners like Marshawn Lattimore, they're going nowhere, bro. And Marshawn Lattimore just had a freaking monster day. Chris Olave had the number 1 targets of any player on the Saints team, 10 targets, 8 receptions, 112 yards, like I mentioned earlier, 89 yards for Rashid Shaheed, 61 for Michael Thomas. The first drive was the Michael Thomas show, almost a touchdown on that drive, 45-yard long pass for Rashid Shaheed and a 41 long pass for Shaheed. And actually, that was Olave with the 45-yarder. Henry had a long pass on a screenplay as well. But when you're looking at the Saints defense, man, you got to be stoked about all these players. They just had a monster game. Brian Bresee also getting involved, getting a sack and a tackle for a loss with Cam Jordan. Pete Werner on a blitz also getting involved. Granderson, I think, was probably the most productive defensive lineman in terms of the pass rush game in this past game. And like we mentioned earlier, man, Marshawn Lattimore got his hands on the football. Freaking Marcus May got a tip pass from Isaac Yiadom and was able to get a pick there. And even Ugo Amande, when he was playing a little bit towards the end of the game, he almost got his hands on an interception as well. So if I'm another offense, I am very concerned about playing against the Saints defense. Dennis Allen was going freaking nuts on the sideline. This is a defensive football team. As soon as this offense gets clicking all around for all 4 quarters, I don't know who's going to beat this team. So the Falcons defeated the Panthers 24-10 in this past game. The Saints play the Panthers on Monday Night Football this week. They get an extra day to rest, but so do the Falcons. I'm pumped up about this team. I think they did quite well. I think even though they struggled in the first half on the offensive side of the football, they found some positive plays overall and proved that they could move the ball down the field. And hopefully against the Panthers, they have some more success against the run. Let me know how you think this team is going to do this year and against the Panthers. And by the way, we were live during this game on my Raiders channel. I have WiFiWillie Raiders and WiFiWillie NFL. I have so many members and so many people that I've watched so many games with over the years on my Raiders channel. So whenever I go live during a game, even if it's a primetime game, I'm going to be going live on that channel. So if you want to see me live during Monday Night Football against the Panthers versus Saints, I will be live on my Raiders channel, WiFiWillie Raiders. So I hope you guys check that out if you want to hang out with me during the game, live play-by-play and reaction. And I'm going live for all kinds of games, mainly Raiders games and Saints games for sure. But let me know how you feel about this team, man. I want to know your thoughts, concerns, stuff you're pumped up about. Overall, I'm still satisfied with what happened, and I think they'll clean up the mess and have an even better week next week. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.